Okay, great. Okay, we're all set up. I say let's just dive right into it. So today's subject is on how to become a penetration tester and what it takes, everything from, skills required, the job information, how to find the work, everything you need. I'm going to try my best to be as thorough as possible and really try to make sure I give you everything you guys need to get into the field. So let's jump right into it. All right, so you want to be a hacker, right? That's pretty much how it all started. At least that's how it started for me, okay? And then you find out that you can actually do it legally, and that is better than Christmas, right? Finding out that you can do this for a job, it really kind of turns out to really not be much better than that, right? Okay, so now you get to the real question. How the heck do you do it? How do you get into this field? Like, really get in. Like, I don't want to be like, hey, I'm the security guy. I do the VPN accounts. No, that's not what I'm talking about. You really want to own boxes. You want to pop shelves. You want to deface websites. Crack WPA and then laugh at people. That's what you want to do. All right, so the way I'm going to try and break this down, I'm going to break it down into the primary areas that you're going to need in terms of education, certification, and experience. When you're trying to get into this field, those are going to be the three things that you bring to the table: education, certification, and experience. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, you bring intangibles, things like work ethic, your willingness to learn, your great smile, and all that good stuff. But the primary things that we're going to focus on is the three major criteria. Okay, so let's jump right into education. The biggest thing that people always ask me is, do I need a degree? Short answer, yes. Is it an absolute requirement? No. Do I have a degree? No, right? They had these things called alcohol and women when I tried to go to college, and those things made it unbelievably difficult for me to focus on my studies. And, well, okay, yeah, I won't go into that story. But, yeah, long story short, should you have a degree? The answer is yes. If you have the time, you got the money, you got the resources where you can go get a degree, yes, by all means, get it. Is it an absolute requirement to get into this field? No. Having a degree will never hurt you. All right, what type of degree should you get? Short answer, definitely want to get a computer science degree. Is it an absolute requirement? No. What about degrees such as like management of information systems, business information systems, computer information degrees, those types of degrees? Will they work? The answer is yes. But, it would be better for you to have a technical degree. Now, will a less technical degree work? Sure. You want to get a degree in underwater basket weaving or whatever it is that floats your boat. That makes you happy. Great. Okay. Fabio wants to know if just a generic IT degree works. Yes. The answer is yes, it does. So you can do that, but remember, what you're going to end up with is you're probably going to end up having to demonstrate technical competency somewhere else. Okay? All right. If you have a less technical degree, you're going to find that you'll probably need to supplement that with other things to show your technical prowess, maybe certifications, work experience, something like that. Okay. Do I need a degree from a big-name school? No. You don't need to go to Yale. You don't need to go to MIT and all those kinds of things. Does it help? Of course it helps. Is it an absolute requirement? No. Do you have jobs that look really highly upon people who go to high-profile schools, Harvard, West Point, Stanford? Yes, of course. I certainly can't tell you that, going to a big-name school hurts you in the job market. It helps, right? But usually, when people are looking for you to go to a big-name school, oftentimes what they're looking for is either your job pedigree or the network that you bring, right? So over the long term, if you went to a school like Harvard, you went to a school like West Point, as the years go on, the network of people that you're going to have is going to be beneficial to a company. So that's really what they're looking for, because you fit this Ivy League profile. When you get into the business environment, you're going to be able to do business with Ivy League people. you go into the West Point and Citadel and Air Force Academy and these kinds of things, then that's who they're kind of hoping you're going to be doing business with. Okay, so as long as the school is not a flat-out paper mill, you should be fine. If you go to, whatever state, Alabama State or something like that, your world is not over because you went to a regular school. That's fine. Okay. How do I know if my school has a good program? This, to me, is more important. So, short answer, the overwhelming majority of schools on the market, and hear me out when I say this, the overwhelming majority of schools in the market do not have good programs. Let's put it all out on the table. Most programs suck. Okay? Most of the schools claim that their program will help you, and man, I'm sorry to say, they are straight lying to you. Oftentimes, it's just flat out wrong. Most computer science programs are too focused on learning your IDE versus actually learning how to program. And then even worse, very few computer science programs even have a class on, even have a module on IT security, let alone a full-blown class, even less a focus. A lot of people ask me about these information security degrees, and I think they're flat-out crap. What you'll often find is that it's just a ton of policy. You're going to be doing risk assessments in your information assurance program. They'll say you're going to get a degree in forensics, and you'll find that these people often don't even know what common forensics tools are. They've heard of them, they've never used them. So I've seen graduates who come out of these programs that can't install simple web servers, a web server, a DHCP server, file server. They don't know how to create users in Active Directory. They can't perform basic Linux commands, listing directories, reading files, things like that. If you go to an information security program and your goal, remember that, here's the important part, if your goal is to be a technical person where you get out and you do malware analysis, reverse engineering, exploit development, penetration testing, if you want to do that kind of stuff, then you need to find out if the program offers that kind of stuff. I don't want to just learn information security. I want to learn, am I going to use, IDA Pro? Am I going to use Ollie Debug in this class? Okay? Okay. What do I always tell people? Don't sleep on junior colleges and community colleges. Got a good buddy of mine, Sam Bone, teaches at a smaller college out in California. He has a wonderful program. So talk to students, not salespeople, not counselors. Ask them if they actually ran things. Did they use Nmap? Did they use Scapy? Did they use Burp Suite? Did they use Ollie Debug? Did they use Immunity Debugger? Ask to sit in a class. Ask to see if you can talk to the instructor, and ask them these questions. If you want to get a good look at what I think are some very good programs, go to samsclass.info, go to pentest.cryptosity.net. These are good programs with good technical material. I'm sure there's a whole lot more out there, but look at these as a good reference. Stuff you see in these classes, go to the school that you're interested in attending and ask them if you're going to learn this stuff, and make them show you the curriculum. Make them prove to you that this is what you're actually going to be learning. Okay? All right, let's move on. Okay? In summary for education, if you can do it, do it. If you can get it, make sure you get that degree. And if you want it to be of value, like tangible work value, make sure you're learning the stuff that you want to learn. Okay, certification is next. Certification, I know everybody talks about, these guys that they met. Everybody always has some story about some guy who had whatever certification and he sucked. And all I can tell you is a certification doesn't mean that you're good at anything. But what it does mean is you will get a job interview. And if that's what you care about, I'm sorry to say it, you need to strongly consider certification. Certifications that I think you should look at. Certifications like EC Council Certified Ethical Hacker. Now, I got to do my disclaimer. I am an EC Council instructor, so just let me get that out there. I don't want anybody thinking that I'm, doing anything I'm not supposed to, or, being unnecessarily biased. I'm an EC Council instructor. I don't knock any of the guys who are SANS instructors, offensive security, or any of those types of places. I strongly think getting a certification has merit, has value, and I think you should do it. I really do think it's a good thing to go after at least one of these certifications, if not more. Okay? They're good. Now, bear in mind, a certification will not get you a job. It gets you the chance to talk to somebody about a job. A certification is not a demonstration of competence. It does not prove that you know what you're doing. It proves that you know how to read. If you have a person who can read, he can pass a test. It's just that simple. If you have a person who can Google, he can pass the test. It's just that simple. So I don't want you to go way overboard thinking that, oh man, as soon as I get this certification, I'm in there. That's not it. What it does do is when your resume is going through that screening process, somebody knows that you've taken the time to at least get some fundamental knowledge in this area. And that usually will warrant an interview. And that's what you want, because that interview is the chance for you to sell yourself. Okay, I know a lot of people don't like these, but I'm a strong believer in if you want to be a penetration tester, that you need to bring other things to the table. Goran wants to know, what do I think about the eLearn security certifications? I think they go right in there with any of them. I'm not really rating any certification as particularly better or worse. You just need to show that you have some competence. So to me, they're all pretty much equal. I know that's not a nice thing to say because I'm a EC Council instructor, but as long as you have something, what we're talking about now is getting a job. So if you have an eLearn security certification or a EC Council certification or a SANS certification, the only place that I've seen is in the government, specifically in the government. We have something called DOD 8570, which is a Department of Defense regulation that mandates that people performing information security tasks achieve certain certifications. EC Council CEH is one of them. The SANS certs, SANS also has one of them as well. eLearn security is not on that list. I don't know if they're trying to get on that list. So in terms of applying for a job, I think you will get further in the .mil.gov space if you go with EC Council or SANS. I don't believe offensive security is on that list either. But again, having one of those certs puts you in the right class of people to at least get an interview. Okay, what certifications should I get? A penetration tester should have, in my humble opinion, should have a solid background in networking, operating systems, and programming. So if this is what you want to do, this is really what you want to do, then your job is to go into networks, assess them, and then tell the network administrator what he's doing wrong, what things he's doing in the environment that are introducing security vulnerabilities. If you don't have a strong foundation in networking, you're going to look like a complete idiot when you talk to that network administrator, because everything that you're going to do or say, he's going to look at you and realize you don't know what you're talking about. Same thing in the operating systems environment. I really believe a network administrator, a network penetration tester should have a strong background in operating systems. You should know Linux, Unix, Windows, because now when you find vulnerabilities, you want to be able to talk to that administrator and let them know, hey, you're misconfiguring this, and you can fix it with group policy, or whatever the case may be. You want to be competent. You should have a strong foundation in programming. You don't need to be the programming ninja, but you should have a strong foundation in programming. You don't want to be finding vulnerabilities in somebody's website and then going to talk to a developer about it, and then he realizes that you have absolutely no idea how any of the things that he's developing works. You're going to lose your credibility. So even if you find good vulnerabilities, you can't help him fix them. And that's really what our job is. Our job is to help that admin, that developer, fix this stuff. Your knowledge is really what's indispensable. Now, you see that I have these certifications listed. You don't need to do all these certs. Not an absolute requirement. But it will really help you if you could demonstrate competency in these areas. So maybe you don't have a CCNP, but you're really comfortable with Cisco networking. Maybe you don't have a Red Hat certified RHCE, but you're really strong with Linux. You're really comfortable with it, and you can, demonstrate that. Same thing with programming. You've got a language that you're pretty comfortable in. You've developed a couple of things, and you can show that off. That's really important. Okay. Pranitha wants to know, should you have a strong foundation in networking, even if you want to do application security? And I would say yes. Now, bear in mind that does not mean that you need to be like the network ninja, but I do think it would really behoove you to definitely know network stuff. I don't think it's going to hurt you. So all that means, Pranitha, is you don't need to be as focused. So maybe you want to get really close to a CCNA in terms of knowledge and skill set. You don't need to go as far as like a CCNP in terms of knowledge and skill set. Okay? But again, your understanding of networking will help if you're going to be in the AppSec. No problem. No problem at all. Okay. All right, so the big thing that people always say is, hey, Joe, these classes are really expensive. And all I can tell you is, yeah, hello, what'd you expect, right? Yeah, way to go, Captain Obvious. This stuff is expensive, right? So find schools that teach this stuff. Be prepared to open up your checkbook. If this is what you want to get into, this stuff is expensive to learn if you want to go and sit in class to learn it. Now, if you're disciplined and you can study at home and you can build a lab environment, you can learn this stuff very low cost or even for free in a lot of cases. And I'm going to cover a lot of that, so don't think that I'm not going to cover that. But if you're going to get formal education in this stuff, expect to be paying $2,000 to $5,000 for every single class. This stuff is not cheap if you want to learn it professionally, in an academic environment. Okay. All right. So, quick summary on education. Quick summary on certification. Definitely do a security certification, any of them. EC Council, SANS, whichever you like. Strongly recommend you get your foundational certifications as well. People who just have a security cert but don't have foundational certs, for example, if you're into the AppSec, it would really be good to have a certification in .NET. It'd be really good to have a certification in Java. Those would really help you in addition to a security certification. It'd be really good to have a Microsoft certification in addition to your network pen test certification. Because again, when we find vulnerabilities, we need to be able to talk to that admin or that developer about it. Okay, Wendy wants to know why I didn't mention the CISSP. And I didn't mention the CISSP for a very specific reason. The first reason is it's not technical enough. It's just plain and simple. It's not technical enough. So for people who want to become technical penetration testers doing network or application security, a CISSP is not going to be first on your list. Now, that doesn't mean not to get one. That does not mean not to get one. What happens is, in terms of just your technical ability, CISSP is the furthest thing from what you need. in terms of your ability to interact with the customer and show to the customer that you can interface with management and IT executives about IT risk, then yes, the CISSP is very valid. And when you want to get into security consulting, having a CISSP is very valuable. So we're not saying don't get it, but we're focusing right now on the technical skills. If you get the technical skills, they will figure out how to get you your CISSP. They'll generally just fire you off to a class for a week. If you're in a situation where you have the CISSP and don't have the technical skills, you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt in all of your job interviews, because unless you're looking to manage an IT security, IT pen testing team, then you're going to be like, wow, they really want me to know reverse engineering, they want me to know malware analysis, they want me to know, Burp Suite and IDA Pro, all this kind of stuff. So that's the only reason I didn't mention it. Okay, let's jump on experience. Okay, I always run into this chicken before the egg thing, right? You don't have any experience, and because you don't have any experience, no one will hire you. And all I can tell you is, hey man, deal with it. Welcome to reality. It's not going to get any better, right? Go get some experience or find a different job. And I know that's harsh, but it's true. It's harsh. But if you don't come to me as an employer with something tangible, then I'm busy. We are really busy. A typical pen test group, most of these guys do 50% travel, sometimes as much as 75% travel. So they have to be billable, right? Now, no customer is going to pay you to learn on the customer's dime, right? The customers aren't going to do that. So a typical consulting firm, when they bring you on, you got to be able to hit the ground running with very, very little help. So you're not going to find a lot of mentoring in the pen test arena. And I'm going to talk about that later. It's another one of those harsh realities. So let's just deal with it. Let's focus on how we can get some experience. Okay? So first thing we need to know is, yes, we want experience, but even more granular, what are the most important skills to have or get? So the most important skills to have, in my opinion, are network pen testing and web app pen testing. Now, depending on who you talk to, a lot of people in the pen test world right now will tell you that the network pen testing environment is shrinking, and the transition is to application security, and that is the truth. Most of us pen testers are primarily doing web app right now. Not a lot of guys are doing a lot of network pen testing anymore. And the reason is because the network pen testing has become very mature. Firewalls are everywhere. Antivirus is everywhere. Patch management is a common thing. Configuration management is a common thing. I just saw a blog post a few months back on, Nessus is now 15 years old. The network environment is very mature. The web app environment is what needs the most rigorous testing right now, not the network. So you need to get some network pen testing experience, so that you can be comfortable when you interface with network people, be comfortable when you interface with application people on network issues, but the future is going to be in the web app. So I say learn network pen, but focus on web app. Okay. Where can you go to learn this stuff for free? And how good do you have to be where I'm really going to consider you, someone like me, someone like another consulting firm, is really going to consider you and be willing to take a chance on you? So what's a good measure? Here's the measure that I would give you. For network, go to this link, securitytube.net, right? And you'll see it's operations view group ID 10. What that is that's the Metasploit Mega Primer. The Metasploit Mega Primer. What happens is Vivek, he walks through everything about Metasploit. I mean, he gets knee deep down into the weeds, right? And he covers everything you could ever want to know and some stuff you probably don't want to know about Metasploit. what I would tell you to do is be able to explain to somebody everything in that video, everything in that video series. That's a good measure of, do you really know this stuff? Like, do you know Railgun in Metasploit? You know that stuff, right? That's a good measure. If a person could walk me through what's going on in each video, for me, in an interview process, that would be a good measure. I'd be pretty comfortable this guy knows what the heck he's talking about. Wireless, same thing. Can you go through that wireless video series and explain to me, okay, this is WPA cracking, and WPA cracking is going to work by him capturing the four-way handshakes. He's going to need to know the network name and all this kind of stuff. He's going to put his card in the monitor mode. Can you walk me through that? So when I'm talking to you and I ask you about one of those steps, how do you do clientless web cracking or something like that, you can walk me through all of it. Not have you seen it before. Do you really get it? Okay, and then the last one is web app. So for something like WebGoat, can you do every level in WebGoat, and can you explain it? Because remember, when you're a penetration tester, when you have vulnerabilities that you find in the environment, you need to be able to explain to the customer what this vulnerability is, how this vulnerability can be exploited, and then more importantly, how the heck does the guy fix it? And if you can't do that, I don't really know what your value is as a pen tester. So if you can do this stuff and you don't have the certification and you don't have the college degree, I'm still going to give you a fair look. It doesn't mean I'll hire you, but I'll still give you a fair look because there aren't that many pen testers working in industry who can do what I'm telling you to do right now. So whether you didn't have, even if you didn't have the certs, you didn't have the education, but you could come to me and you can go, look, I really know this stuff. I know what I'm doing. Can't say that's a guaranteed hire, but it's definitely someone you're going to pay attention to. And, if they have the right mix of other skills, interpersonal skills, writing skills, things like that, someone will probably take a chance on you. Hey, no problem, Mike. Yeah, I'm going to fire out the recording of this, and I'll also show people where they can get these slides too. Yeah, no problem, Sassy. You can grab the slides. Yeah, no problem, Wendy. Too easy, too easy. Okay, no problem. Okay. Next thing is important skills to get. Okay. Now, if you already know all that stuff that I just said, and you're not a working pen tester, please send me an email and tell me that you're looking for work, because if you know all that stuff and you're not working now, I can use you. All right, what about the future? If you're really focused, hey, I'm in college right now, I'm really not going to be ready for a job for another year or two, or something like that, whatever your situation is. Maybe you're in a job and you're okay in your job, but over the long term you'd like to get into this field. Then great. Then focus on the stuff that I just said in the previous slide, and for the future, really start looking into technologies like Web 2.0. Really start looking into anything related to mobile and cloud. This is going to be the future of penetration testing. Everything that's going to be going on with the Web 2.0 stuff, the mobile stuff, the cloud stuff, this is where we will be working. So network and web is right now. Web 2.0, mobile, cloud, that's tomorrow. So if you're trying to prepare yourself to be gainfully employed in the future, those are the types of things that I would be telling you to really look at right now. All right, now, back to that chicken and the egg dilemma. Where do I get experience? And all I can tell you is volunteer. If you're in a situation where you flat out don't have the education, don't have the certification, hey man, I'm a poor broke kid, and I live in Bangladesh, what do I do? Volunteer. Volunteer. If you join an open source project, Help somebody who's building an open source security tool. Help somebody who's building some new scanner. Help somebody who's building a new IDS product. Help somebody who's building some sort of web application firewall or whatever the case may be. Whatever it is, if it's a security product, jump on it and help. Now, the first thing that I always hear when I say that to people is, I don't know how to program. This sounds like a great freaking time to learn. You don't know how to program? Jump on, maybe you'll learn. Even if you don't know that, offer to help with the project. Tell the guys on these projects that you're willing to test and debug for the developers who are writing open source software. Okay, maybe you don't feel technical enough that you can test and debug. Okay, you can't write code. You're not ready for that. You don't feel technical enough to test and debug the software that they write. Okay, you're not ready for that. Offer to write documentation for them. What's going to happen? You're going to learn the product. You're going to learn that product really well, and then what's going to happen? You're also going to develop relationships. You're going to meet people who are already working in the industry who are obviously very technically proficient because they're writing their own tools. This is going to get you to know people in the industry. It's a great way for you to get experience. You can know people who are in the industry. They'll be able to tell you about where jobs are. Then you can get some good credibility because you can get on an open source project and put that on your resume that you've been a contributor to, whatever it is, open source project for the last 2 years. And, you beta tested it or you wrote this portion of code for it. And specifically when you get into the situation where people want to know that you've done closed source stuff, proprietary things, you can say, hey, look, I don't know that closed source product, but I do know the open source equivalent of it, and I've been a contributor to it for 2 years. And I'm very comfortable with that and how that technology works and how to debug it and test it and all that kind of stuff. So I can really help you help your customers with that, right? Because at the end of the day, that's the underlying skill that I want. I want a guy who can help my customer. When I send you out for a pen test, I want you to be able to sit down with that customer and walk him through, hey, if you load these libraries, you can do better with preventing SQL injection. Hey, if you deploy these products, you can do better with defending against, network-based attacks or client-side attacks or whatever. And you need to know the strengths and weaknesses of those products, right? And being on an open source project is the fastest way to learn that stuff. Okay, shameless plug. I do run an intern program, and I call my intern program the Rookies. So if you're interested in doing that, basically what my rookies do a lot of technical writing. So I give them projects to do. They write white papers, they write videos, they write blog posts, they do all kinds of little things like that, and it's a way that they can demonstrate their technical competency, and then I usually write letters of reference to them. So you're helping me out because I need more content, and then I'll try and help you out by obviously giving you a good letter of reference. And then you do all of it under your own name, so it's not like, you're going to write and I'm going to take credit for what you write. You're going to write stuff, and then anything that you write is going to be attributed to you. All right, next. The biggest thing that I can tell you, build a lab. Build a lab. Man, I'm telling you, almost like if you build it, they will come. If you build it, the jobs will come a-knocking because there are so few people who really get the technology. If you build your own lab, start with your virtualization platform. Doesn't matter what it is. VMware, VirtualBox, Zen, who cares? Install your most common OSs, right? And then don't stop there. Take it to the next step. Install your most common applications. Then build an IDS, right? Build one. I'm not talking about Security Onion. I mean build Snort. Download it from source. Build that bad boy, right? Set up, base and Snorty and all that. Build it by hand. Go through the pain. You feel what I'm saying, fellas? Pain. It's going to suck. You're going to hate your life. You're going to look at these people and go, what were these guys at SourceFire thinking? They were thinking about being billionaires. Oh, that's a different subject, but whatever. This stuff is hard, and you will learn so much by just building these types of products. These open source products sound awesome, but when you build them, you're going to find that when you put your fingers on the keyboard to build Alien Vault, Snort, Razorback, Suricata, and you want to build all that stuff from source, you find very quickly that we are separating the men from the boys, because this stuff is not easy. But that experience will be worth wonders when you go talk to an employer. Okay, now, here's the next thing. Once you build your lab, don't just build it and that be the end of it. Okay, if you can just build a bunch of boxes and you tell me that in an interview, I'm going to be like, hey, I'm really proud of you. Good job. If I ever need a system administrator or someone to run help desk, I'll give you a call. But I need you to not just be able to build it, you got to be able to hack it. So a good rule is if someone tells you something like, hey, you should be able to admin or deploy anything that you hack or pen test, I'm going to agree with them 100%. There was a guy, Aaron Portnoy. I saw him on that pentest.perposity website, and he said that. And all I could do was agree with it like 5,000,000%. Yes, exactly. I've got a question here from Troy. Troy's asking, what do I think about GNS3? And, you know, if you're going to look at GNS3 as an ability for you to deploy Cisco networks, all I can say is go, 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 go. Yes, that's a very good thing. You know, being able to deploy a Cisco ASA, being able to deploy Cisco routers, you know, in your virtual environment using either Dynamibs, Dynagems, or the front end to it, which is GNS3, nothing but great things are going to happen to you. It's going to be really tough because if all you're going to do is real simple stuff in GNS3, it's pretty easy. You want to start building some real complex architectures with GNS3, you're really going to need to roll your sleeves up and do some serious work, so that's a good thing. All right, back to this. What should you be doing in the lab? Start with your foundation, right? Go to securitytube.net, do those mega primers for Metasploit and wireless. Do all of those in your lab. Remember, don't just watch the videos, right? Really be able to sit down and do them. Sit down and do that stuff in your lab. When you can do all of that stuff in your lab, that means you know how to build it, you know what these apps look like, what they're like to install, what they're like to exploit, and then you built an IDS, so you also know what they look like on the wire, okay? You really know what the attack looks like, how well it gets detected, how easy it is to bypass detection. You're going to learn that stuff, okay? All right, now what I would tell you to do is build a training plan. Set up some things that you do every week. Every week, what I would say to do is to go through the exploits on exploitdb.com every week, right? Because guess what? When you're a penetration tester, that's what you're going to be doing. Every week, you're going to need to keep track of what are the newest exploits that are in Metasploit and that are on out there in the wild so that you know what to do for your customers. So you should be doing that now. When you get into the job, you want to already be doing that. You need to know what attacks are popular, what attacks work well because you've done them in your lab. If every week you go out, you grab the software, the nice thing about ExploitDB, they actually give you the vulnerable software most of the time too. So if they say, hey, here's an exploit for this application, they'll usually have the application for you to download. You should download that application, install it in your environment, attack it, see if your IDS detects it. You know, look at the rules that your IDSs have. Try to understand how the rules work. You should be doing this every week. Hey, no problem, Mike. You take it easy. And yeah, that was Mike Booya. The other Mike, you know, yeah, no problem. I do agree with you on Cisco Packet Tracer. Where is a good place to learn Wireshark? For free? I have to think about that one. I know there's cool places like, you know, Contagion and Open Packet, but those are places to download malware. I don't know about good places to learn Wireshark for free. What's really popular is something called Wireshark University, but that's a commercial training course that you'd have to buy. Desmond, fire me off an email, and what I'll do is I'll work on something. I'll put together like a little cheat sheet, because that's not a bad idea. I'll put together a little cheat sheet for you for that kind of stuff. That'd be something to kind of throw up on the website. That'd be good for a lot of people. Okay. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, Mike, I think you're right. You know, definitely SecurityTube for just looking for some videos. CBT Nuggets has some stuff, but you're right, that's paid. I'll have to really kind of think about that one. I don't know too many places that have a good, thorough Wireshark course, you know, other than, like I said, paid stuff. All right, back to experience. The next thing that people always ask me about is, hey, what programming languages do I need to learn? And how good of a programmer do I need to be? And the only thing I can tell you in that is you do need to be able to program. I don't think you need to be like some super ninja, you know, you can code up, you know, anything in under 10 minutes kind of thing. It's nothing like that. But you need to be familiar with programming. You need to be able to look at stuff and know what's going on. You know, you don't want to be like, oh my God, there's code. You don't want to be scared. Do you need to be a strong programmer? I would say no. I would definitely say you've got to get comfortable with an interpreted language. So Perl, Ruby, Python, something like that. Everybody knows I love Python. Some exposure to enterprise development languages I think is huge. Most corporations are either .NET shops or Java shops. It's very rare that you're going to run into Facebook, you know, whereas a company, they're using PHP. You know, most corporations are .NET shops, Java shops. So I would really try to have some exposure to C# and Java, and then definitely at least pick up one interpreted language, you know, one interpreted language, Perl, Ruby, Python, something like that. And I think you'll be pretty good if you can just do that. Oh, hey, it's my buddy Renat. What's up, man? Okay. Bao says that Iron Geek has some good videos. I know Iron Geek. I'll ask him about that because I don't think he has like a Wireshark video, but I'll talk to him about it. Okay, places that you can learn this stuff. There is this kid, and he might not even be a kid. I probably shouldn't call him a kid, but I really like his videos. On YouTube, the kid's name is The New Boston, no spaces, The New Boston. He does awesome videos. Each one of these videos is like less than 6 minutes long. He'll do like 50, 60 videos per language. So I recommend that you just take 2 or 3 videos and do them like 3 or 4 times a week. So let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you watch 3 videos. You know, that's 15, 20 minutes. Inside of a month, you'll pretty much be pretty comfortable with the language. Like, you don't need to kill yourself to learn programming. You don't want to do, you know, like 10 hours a day. You just want to start to gradually get some exposure, play along with it. What I like to do, I watch the tutorial, I open up a command prompt, and just type right along with it. You know, it's just so much of a nice way to learn a language. 3 days a week, a couple of videos a night, you know, and you'll start to pick the stuff up. This is all free. Okay, the next thing that a lot of people ask me about is a security clearance, and this is tough. But let's just dive right in. So, quick summary on work experience. If you're trying to get work experience, definitely volunteer for an open source project. If you can get your fingers on an open source project and get in there and help out as a developer, help out as a tester and debugger. If not helping out as one of those things, help out as a person who writes documentation. I don't know any programmer who likes to write documentation. If you volunteer to write documentation, after they finish proposing to you, you'll find yourself, overwhelmed with documentation to write. So jump all over that. Okay, skills that you needed to learn, definitely network, web, mobile, definitely an interpreted language, and some exposure to a compiled language, or excuse me, an enterprise development language like Java or .NET. Security clearances. All right, if you want to do work in the DoD space, you want to work for the Department of Defense, you want to hack for the government, then I really think you're going to end up having to really think about a security clearance. You're going to have to go down this road. Okay, I'm just kind of cleaning up some questions here. Okay. All right, got my questions cleaned up. Let's get back at it. All right, you're going to need to get into this world. Okay, do I need a security clearance if I want to be a penetration tester? The answer is no. But I can tell you this, there's a ton of penetration testing work in the cleared space. So if you have a clearance already, that is a strong thing in your favor. Now, if you don't have a security clearance, it's going to be tough to get one. Now, you can get pen testing work without a clearance, especially in the financial sector. There's a ton of pen testing in the financial community. If you're from a foreign country and you live here in the U.S., then you're definitely going to have to play the green card game, the citizenship game, and all that kind of stuff. Those things are not easy. If you're just a regular civilian, it's tough to get a security clearance. What I can tell you is the more skills you have, the more people will be willing to look at you and give you a security clearance. Effectively, a security clearance is a really in-depth background check. At the end of the day, that's all it is. Someone is going to go dig into your life and go back and just talk to everybody who's ever known you or worked with you in the last 10 years and ask all kinds of questions that you don't want people to know about you, but that's just how this world is. They're trying to figure out if you're a trustworthy person. Now, that process of getting a security clearance can take anywhere from 6 months to possibly 2 years. Sometimes it takes a long time to get a security clearance, and it's not a cheap process. So if a person is going to hire you and give you a security clearance, they generally need to know that you're going to be there for a while and that you bring enough skills to the table that it's worth them spending the money for this clearance and then waiting for you to get it. So that's the reason why you have to come with so many skills to the table. If you're really, really good at exploit development or reverse engineering or penetration testing or whatever the case may be, and you don't have a clearance, and once these guys figure out that you're that good at it, that you're very talented, lots of certifications, right education, they'll slap a clearance on you pretty quickly. Okay? All right. Okay. Next thing that people always ask me is, I want to get a security clearance. I want to get into that world, but I have an issue. I puffed and I did a little something, or I got arrested once, and I got a bunch of bills, or I'm not a citizen yet, and all this kind of stuff. And all I can tell you is, don't worry about those things. Although there are areas of concern, they usually do not negate you from getting a security clearance. What most times what they're looking to do is if they find out that you've done drugs in the past or something like that, really what they're looking for is this something that you do recently? Is this something that you're susceptible to, like you can relapse back into it? They want to know that. Have you been arrested before? Well, is this something that's happened recently? Is this something that you do all the time? That's what they're trying to figure out. So it's not that you've never done it. It's that, they want to know what's going on with it. You've got financial issues. Maybe you had a death in the family. Maybe you had a bad divorce. You got those kind of things, but you're cleaning it up, and you'll get it fixed pretty soon. It happened a long time ago. They'll figure it out. You're not a U.S. citizen yet, but you've already filed. You're going to be a legal citizen soon, et cetera, et cetera. Those types of things. They'll figure those things out. They can hold you on a lower level clearance for a while. They can figure those things out if you bring enough beneficial things to the table. So I don't want you to be overwhelmingly scared, like, oh man, I did something bad a long time ago. I won't get a clearance. That's not necessarily the case. Okay, what if the IT clearance that I want includes a paragraph, a polygraph? Sorry about that. Didn't read that very well. So the higher the level of security clearance that you go to, the deeper into your past they want to dig. So sometimes their security clearance may only go back 5 years or 7 years. Sometimes they get really crazy. They want to go back 10 years. Sometimes they want to get really crazy, go back 10 years, and put you on what they call a lifestyle and polygraph. So they're going to hook you up to the machine and ask you all kinds of really, really weird questions. Did you with the animal and all this kind of stuff and whatever else? They'd probably ask you some really off the wall questions. The only recommendation I can give you is no matter how bad it is, no matter how crazy it is, no matter how embarrassed you are, don't lie. If you're going to get on the polygraph machine, tell the truth. We're not hiring for the Boy Scouts. If you're being hired to be a penetration tester, or you're being hired to do some sort of position where you're going to be doing offensive stuff against, whoever and whatever, they're not hiring for the Boy Scouts. So if you've done whatever and you've got a checkered past, that won't necessarily disqualify you. But lying about that checkered past, that will disqualify you. Okay, so let's sum up clearances. There's definitely way more work in the cleared space. Somewhere around 5 to 8 times the volume of work in the cleared space. There's a ton of work in the cleared space versus the commercial space. But getting into the cleared space, if you're prior military, it's pretty easy because you can usually keep your clearance. If you're a civilian trying to get in, you have to generally find someone who's willing to submit you for a clearance. And what they'll often do is submit you for a lower level job until your clearance comes through, and then they move you over to a higher level job doing the penetration testing or reversing or whatever. So you can do it. If you don't want to do the clearance at all, there's plenty of work in the commercial space, especially working for technology companies, IBM, HP, wherever, consulting firms, there's plenty of places to work. Okay, let's move on and let's talk about where to look for work and how to look for work. This is where the real rubber meets the road. You want to find a job, and you want to find a job doing this stuff, right? Like I said, you don't want to be a VPN guy creating accounts, and then they call that security, right? Okay, obviously go to the same IT sites, Dice, Monster, Computer Jobs, Indeed, all those places. Wherever you go to look for IT jobs, same thing. The only thing that you need to really swallow, job titles are all over the place. I mean, all over the place. You can have job titles like IT security consultant. You can have job titles like, information security engineer, network analyst. It can be all over the map. It really can be anything. I've seen jobs like this where they call you a computer operator. It can be all over the place. So what I would recommend you do is if you're searching for a job, search for the keywords. Search for the keywords. Search for the names of the tools you use. Search for Metasploit, Canvas, Core Impact, Index, Outflow, ISO. Search for the tools you use, not the job title. Okay, can you guys hear me now? looks like we lost audio for a second. Okay, audio's back. Okay. All right, let's get in here. All right, so like I was saying, search for the tools that we use. Like I said, search for ISO, for down the river, metasploit, for impact. Search for that stuff. That'll be the fastest way to find jobs. Like I said, I've seen jobs where people will call you, computer operator. Okay, let's check audio again. Okay, looks like audio's back. Okay, next question. I'm in the U.S. Where do I find jobs? Okay, I'm in the not in the U.S. You got to search job sites that people go to. Most have the equivalent of monster.com, computerjobs.com. They got those equivalents for those countries. You just got to search for popular job sites. Okay, hold on, let's see. Okay, how's audio now, guys? Okay, now the audio's back. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not trying to make it so freaking crazy. Laura's like, be still. I can't help it. I pace. This is the reason I don't do a lot of videos, because I like walk around. All right, I'll sit down. Okay, so as I sit in my chair, this is weird, guys. I've never had to just sit. Jeez. No treadmill for the audio, please. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Each website is going to have their respective IT job site, and that's really what you need to look at. The next thing that you've got to dig into is you really got to look at hacker conferences. You've got to network. It's the best way that you can find jobs is by meeting other security people. Now, in foreign countries especially, it's really hard to figure out where all the various conferences are at. So I would tell you to check out infosecevents.net and secure.info. So these websites give you a good listing of all the various IT security events and hacker conferences, and they even give ratings to them too. So it's definitely a place that you should check out. Okay. The next thing that people ask me is, well, what kind of companies can I expect to be working for? Who's going to be hiring that sector? And off the top, it's going to be defense contractors, right? It's going to be your Northrop Grumman. It's going to be your General Dynamics. It's going to be, all of your Booz Allen, all of your defense contractors, right off the top. After that, it's going to be your federal agency, right? Department of whoever. Right? There's going to be a ton of back and forth. Now, remember, President Obama recently signed an executive order mandating more comprehensive IT security program for the entire federal sector. So that means there's going to be a lot more penetration testing and red team type stuff going on. Currently, they're making DOD cover that mission. So each federal entity builds their own capability. So there's going to be work there. After that, financial institutions. A lot of financial institutions have their own internal penetration testing. So especially abroad, if you're outside of the U.S., most of the pen testers either work for financial entities or they work for IT or IT security consulting companies. We also have people who work for like regular Fortune 1000 companies, and oftentimes they'll have an internal penetration test. So specifically, if you're trying not to be in the cleared space, you're going to be looking for IT entities, IT security, consulting firms. You're going to be looking for financial institutions, and you're going to be looking for Fortune 1000 companies. Okay, now, here's the next thing. I get people who go, okay, Jim, even if I do everything that's listed, I've got a degree in computer science. I even have a few certifications. And I've even joined all those open source projects. I'm pretty good. I still, when I read these job descriptions, I don't fit this stuff. You know, look, they want 10 years experience in IT, 7 years experience in IT security, 5 years experience with the penetration testing, 1 certification that they have. For top experience, Java, Ajax, XML, and about $85,000. All I can tell you is, give me a freaking break. Apply for the job anyway. Apply for the job anyway. At the end of the day, if you see a job and it's got all that alphabet soup up there and they want all that crap, I'm telling you, that is a wish list. That's a wish list. Because I'm telling you, somebody who's got all of that, he's got a job. And he ain't leaving his job for $85,000 a year. He's got a job. That's a wish list. Apply anyway. Yeah, Fabio, you said you skip jobs like that? You have to apply. You have to apply for those jobs. People who write these job descriptions have absolutely no idea. They just take any IT word that they've ever heard and put them in job descriptions and hope to God that they get a person who has a pulse. Apply for the job anyway. Okay? Listen, guys, if a person walks through the door and I'm the hiring manager and you got all that stuff, the only thing I can give you is my job. That's all I got, right? And, you know, because if you got all that, and let's say the range for the job is $90,000 to $110,000, do you think that person who has all of that is going to take the job for $90,000? Not just no, but what? Hell no, he's not taking it. He's going to look at you like, man, you got me. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go back to the job I have. I'm not leaving, right? When people come in and they meet every single qualification in the job rec, they have to get the top money, right? Because, hey, man, everything you got listed, I got. So whatever the range is, you're going to give me the top of the range. Now, here's the problem with that. I can't give that guy incremental raises. I can't really give that guy the opportunity to move up and get a promotion, right? Because he's already at the top of the scale. The other thing that I got to deal with is now I got potentially a know-it-all. When you get people who are qualified like that, they come into the job, the first thing out of their mouth is what they won't do. Hey, man, I'm not working nights. I'm not working weekends. I'm not traveling. I'm not training new people. I'm not writing a whole bunch of documentation. I want to work, you know, I want to have 3 days where I telecommute. I want the front parking space, and, you know, I only want to work 2 days a month. You know, people like that who have all those quals and take a job where they meet all the quals are overqualified, and all you're doing is holding on to this person until he decides to leave you, just like he just left his last job. So if you're not qualified, and you only got half of that stuff up there, no, if you only have a third of that stuff up there, apply for the job. Because I'll tell you what they're going to do. You're going to have the job rec, and it's going to say 90 to 110. Then they're going to give you a bunch of BS like, well, you know, you're a little underqualified for the position, but, you know, we like your attitude and we like the spunk that you have, and what we think we're going to do is we're going to bring you in at $90,000. And you're so doggone excited that you get the job. But guess what? They're excited too. They get to give you the bottom of the pay scale, and you're going to work your butt off. Because that guy who's got all that experience, he's not going to work his butt off. He knows the job. You're not going to pull the wool over his eyes. You're not going to tell him about upward mobility. He knows the job. So apply, apply, apply. Okay. You need to focus on what you bring to the table. Okay? Look, when you go in and do a job and they want the laundry list of crap, you need to focus on your strengths. Whatever the heck I don't know, I will Google. Whatever the heck I don't know, I'll go to college at night to learn. Whatever the heck I don't know, I'll ask somebody at work to help me. Whatever the heck I don't know, I'll put the books on top of my head and learn through osmosis. So anything that he says to you, hey, I don't know this, whatever, man, I'll learn it. I got a good attitude. I got a great work ethic. I will learn it. Focus on what you do know. Don't lie about what you don't know. If you don't know it, say you don't know it. Your technical knowledge, if you know it, it doesn't matter if it came from your home network. It doesn't matter if it came from you volunteering on an open source project. It doesn't matter if it came from being an intern. It doesn't matter if it came from you playing in a bunch of CPS, after the flag, acting competition. All that matters is you know what the heck you're doing, and you're willing to work hard when it comes to anything that you don't know. That's all that matters. That's it. Certification, it doesn't matter what courses you've done. It doesn't matter where you took them. It doesn't matter if you home studied them. All that matters is you got the certification. So by hook or crook, it doesn't matter. Education, if you didn't go to a big school, it's okay. If you don't have a computer science degree, it's okay. What you've got to focus on is how you can help whoever is hiring you. When you're in that interview, you need to talk about how you are going to help them. Let them know you don't require sleep. Let them know you don't care about travel. Let them know you don't care about taking all the crap jobs while you learn. Let them know you're not a whiner. You're not a complainer. You will figure it out. You taught yourself, Cisco. You taught yourself how to program. You built your own network. You did those certifications. You home studied them. You went to a junior college. It doesn't matter. Talk about what you bring to the table. Talk about how you help. We want people who are confident. We want people who can get up in front of that customer, because that confidence shines through. Listen, this is what's wrong with your environment, and this is what you need to do to fix it. And it comes from those people who have that intestinal fortitude to just say, I don't care what the situation is, I'm going to do what I need to do. The same way that when you work with a customer, you really don't care what the problem is. You're going to do what you need to do to solve the problem for the customer. The customer is not paying for your sob story. The customer is paying for you to help him secure his network, to help him build a better website. That's what you're here for. And people who have that attitude are good at that. Okay. I need you to swallow this last thing. Have you ever worked somewhere with or for somebody who wasn't qualified to be there? And I don't know a single person on this planet who hasn't worked with somebody who's not qualified at least once in their life. So you've got to let go of the they want this cert, they want that degree, they want blah, 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 blah. Because I guarantee you somebody in that organization is not qualified for where they work. Guarantee it. So you just got to focus on how can I help you make good hiring decisions. By hiring me, it's a good hiring decision. I'm here to help you do better, right? Because I'm sure that you hired an idiot. I'm looking to not be the idiot. I'm looking to help, okay? So focus on how you sell yourself. All right, what should you expect during the interview process? The general interview process is going to go through a few steps, and it usually will include a few interviews. It may even require a writing sample, so you've got to be ready for those things. Okay, Fabio, question, that's a good question. Fabio wants to know, hey, on my resume, should I put all my technical knowledge? And it's going to be several pages. And now what we're getting into is that 2-page resume rule. And for junior positions, I can understand that. If a person's pretty junior, you're generally recommended not to have a long resume. But as you gain more seniority, you generally have to have a longer resume. And there's no one who's going to hire you for a really high dollar figure job, which is the 2-page resume. So I understand the dilemma. And what I would say is lean towards putting more info. And if you're worried about being overkill, put all the really nitty-gritty stuff in some sort of summary at the top, right? So when they crack it open, they see in a snapshot everything that's important about you. If you want to go on for 50 pages about how great you are, at least all the stuff was summed up real nice at the top. But I'm of the belief that it's better to have a longer resume. In the last few years, I have a pretty long CV, and all the guys that I know and work with, they have pretty long CVs. And, we've got a lot of work experience. We've got a lot of things that we've done, and we try to show that chronology, that logical progression of our career. So I'm not for the 2-page thing. I understand it. All I can say is throw the skills and some sort of summary up top. Okay, yeah, Fabio, throw the stuff on top. Okay. All right, Phil wants to know, I have my first test engagement coming up. We're giving the IP ranges to test, but wanted to know if you have any other good tips or advice for impressing the other team members. Team members like people doing the penetration test with you, or team members like customer with you? Okay, yeah, let me come back to that. Let me kind of focus on this subject. But yeah, Bill, I'll take care of that question. When we get to the end, remind me, okay? All right, cool, no problem, Bill. All right, guys, back to the interview process. So in the interview process, it's pretty common that you'll get a phone screen, right? And it'll just be some generic questions. Then you might have like either a technical interview or a generic interview. Those can be intermingled. And then if they really like you, they usually bring you on for some sort of on-site interview. So you got to be comfortable with that. Be prepared to be interviewed, not just multiple times, but potentially even in a group interview, like where you have 3-4 people interviewing you, where maybe half of the team is interviewing you to figure out if you're going to be a good fit. And the more people that interview you, all I can tell you is the better that is for you. I know it's pressure, I know it's a little intimidating, but if you've got 5, 6, 7 people interviewing you, that's a good thing. What that means is this job is important. It's important if they want to make sure that they get the right person in there. It's important. That's good. Okay. That's it. People are generally pretty apprehensive about technical interviews. The only thing I can tell you is don't worry about it. You don't need to get everything right. The purpose of a technical interview is to figure out where you're at. And getting a few questions wrong in a technical interview usually doesn't disqualify you. So try your best to just be a good guy. Don't be a jerk. I can tell you a story. I'll try and make it brief. I interviewed for Blue Cross Blue Shield, I don't know, like 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. And I was doing the interview, and I was like blowing the interview out of the water. It was like so easy. Every question I asked me was just like super easy. So I was like trying to be a smart guy, smart ass, and just kind of tell the guy, that's a pretty dumb question. Here's the answer. Well, that's a pretty dumb question. Here's the answer. So the guy who was doing my interview, he goes, all right, Joe, well, I'll tell you what. Let's just stop with these questions. Why don't we just talk? And he says to me, pick a language. So I said, Perl. For the community back then, I loved Perl. So we started talking about like string termination and parsers in Perl and all that kind of stuff. Then he started asking me about buffer overflow. And he asked me about what an EIP override works, how it works, what architecture type stuff, and we're going through that. And me and him get into an argument over proper control of the IP inside of, the doing of buffer overflow. And then as I spouted off all this information, incorrectly, of course, he proceeded to give me the schooling of my life and let me know very quickly and very thoroughly how much of an idiot that was. The teacher went on and on and on about what this stuff is, and how this architecture works, and what's the proper way to control the keywords, and push on the stack. I mean, he just gave me a straight school, and now I'm feeling like a complete idiot, right? I'm feeling like I'm like smaller than a ant. This guy just crushed me technically. And I was pretty hurt at the end of the interview, but I never had that happen to me. So at the end of it, I was like, man, I really didn't know if I did okay. And I said, well, you did okay. And he said, I think we'll fly you out next week. And I was like, really? He goes, you know what, I can't fly you out next week. Maybe we'll fly you out the week after. Next week I need to go to Amsterdam. And I was like, oh, well, if you're going to be in Amsterdam, you should go to Black Hat. It's going to be in Amsterdam. And he's like, I know, I'm speaking at it. And I'm like, you are? He's like, yeah. And I was like, well, what's your name? He said, Alex Wheeler. And I'm like, Alex Wheeler, the guy who writes all the Microsoft Exchange exploits? He's like, yeah. So now I'm feeling like even dumber, right? Here I am, I tried to show off how smart I was, and all I did was look even stupider, right? So guys, don't be a jerk in your interview. Do everything you can. Just, really try to help, really be a good guy. Just show that you've got a good eagerness for work. Okay, I'm going to switch and kill this headset since we're still having people saying they're having issues. Okay, how is that now? Okay. All right, let's just do this then. Okay. All right. The next question that I often get is, what are some of the questions that I'm going to get in a job interview? And all I can tell you is it can be anything from how a computer connects to Google. You'll get people who ask you stuff like that. You're a computer. You need to connect to Google.com. Tell me how that works. And they want you to explain as much as you possibly can, from how the local resolver works all the way down to the TCP stack, where you do your ARP request and you look for DNS and, all of that all the way out to Google, and then how it comes back. They're trying to see how thoroughly you can explain TCP/IP. They want you to cover all of it, SSL session, the whole bit. So when you get questions like that, those aren't off the wall. That's pretty normal. You might even get problem-solving questions where they want to know, how you lay a plane without scales. Just weird questions. Sometimes they're deep technical. Sometimes they're problem-solver type questions. All I can say is just be honest. Throw out your answer. It's not really that it's right or wrong. People are just trying to learn how you think. If you want to look at the interview questions that I give when people are interviewing with me, this is my list. You can download that if you want to see what are the questions that I ask people. I try to give people a pretty good mix of network and web questions. Okay, next question I get is, how much money can I expect to make if I'm a penetration tester? And, this is really going to vary from job location and job title, specific level of seniority. But in most cases, a non-senior position in the U.S. is going to range somewhere between 60 and 80K. Senior positions usually float in that 120 to 150K range. And if they get above that, you're generally not a penetration tester anymore. You're usually some sort of manager managing a group. So I wouldn't call that a senior penetration tester. That's more like a practice lead or something like that. But penetration testing salaries have been on the decline in the last few years, just along with the economy, and that's why. But yeah, general, brand new pen tester is going to be, under 6 figures, but relatively close to 6 figures, and that's reasonable. If you have things like a clearance, and you work in the D.C. area or New York, salaries tend to be a little bit higher. So if you're in Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., or, Southern Maryland, salaries are a little higher. In here in New York, salaries are a little higher. But for the rest of the country, that's a pretty good average there. Okay, next thing that people ask me is, what if I just want to do some freelancing? I want to do some pen test on the side. So I've got a regular day job. I want to see if I can do some pen testing. And what I can tell you with that is that's actually pretty hard to get into. That's really a who you know kind of thing. So you want to pen test, you're a regular net admin, security admin in your day job. You want to do some pen tests at night. You really need to know somebody to help you get into stuff like that. Really because we're back to the experience thing, right? We very rarely have time to train a new person. We really need them to be able to hit the ground running. So what you end up running into is it's tough to find that kind of work. Now, several IT security companies get overloaded and will subcontract. But generally, they subcontract to guys that they know. Now, if you know pen testers, that's a good way to get in on stuff like that. But if you want to try on outsourcing websites like ODEF, Elance, bWorker, and those types of websites, you can outsource yourself as a person who will do security assessments. But you need to be very conscious that that kind of work tends to be extremely low pay because you're going to be competing with people in third world countries. You're going to be competing with people, in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh and, whatever. So if you're in the U.S. and you're trying to do side work, I don't know if you necessarily want to do side work at like $10 an hour as a pen tester, When you're competing in some of those outsourcing websites, that's how low that stuff can be. Now, if you're doing a 1099 work for an IT security consulting firm, it can be anywhere from $100 to $200 an hour, maybe as high as, $300 an hour. You can get some pretty good rates even as a subcontractor to these IT and IT security firms. But again, you really need to know somebody to get in on that kind of stuff. That's not the kind of thing that's like really advertised on job sites. Okay, next thing. I want to start my own pen test company. And all I can tell you is, man, this is not for the faint of heart. This is way more work than you think. I know you see me up here, sitting here looking like all I do is talk crap and drink rum and coke, but it's a lot of work. If you meet people like Chris Nickerson and David Kennedy and those kind of guys who are running their own consulting company as pen testers, they work their butts off. 60 hours a week is a dream. They would, if you talk to any of those guys, they would tell you they would dream, they would pay for a 60-hour work week. This is a lot of work. Not because the work is necessarily harder running your own company, just because you have to do the sales, the marketing, the finance, the research and development, the operations. You got to do all that stuff yourself. Most business owners, businesses fail because they focus too much on operations and not the actual running of the business. So I would strongly recommend that you work for a consulting firm before you try this kind of stuff. All right, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, so what's it like to really get in there and do this? The day-to-day. What's it really going to be like every day that you're doing the job? Okay, so what's the good? Well, the good is you get paid to hack. You get paid to hack. That paid to hack kind of thing, like that's your job. Remember that? Like you get paid to hack. So that's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. You get paid to hack. That's awesome. Well, the bad? Well, you will probably do more of the things on this page than you will do of the hacking. You are going to be required to turn into the white paper boy or girl. You're going to be cranking out a ton of documentation. You're going to be writing white papers like it's going out of style. You're going to be writing, penetration test reports like it's going out of style. You're going to be on the road like crazy. And if you're not, you are lucky. You are one of the few Most of us write like crazy. Most of us travel like crazy. Okay? The learning curve when you first get started is crazy. Every day it's stuff you've never heard of. Then you hit this plateau. Like you finally get used to it. You know, you've been doing it for a while. You finally get used to it. Then it's like this shampoo, lather, rinse, repeat. Shampoo, lather, rinse, repeat. And you kind of get into the point where you often find guys who are tired of telling people to patch, to use secure libraries, to use strong passwords. Like it's like every test, it's the same exploit. It's the same attack. It's just once you get over that initial learning curve, then what you run into is how hard it is to break the monotony, because it just seems like every customer does the same stupid stuff in terms of patch management, configuration management, source code auditing, regular penetration testing. It's the same problems everywhere you go. And that can get a little frustrating because it's over and over and over, the monotony of it once you get over the learning curve. Okay, as a documentation, as a bad, I think it's huge. Not uncommon for guys to say it's close to a third of their time. So for every 1 week pen test that we do, you usually have a full day, sometimes 2 full days doing documentation. So if you pen test Monday to Friday, you usually over the weekend, and then Monday becomes your documentation day, and then you're usually required to peer review the report on Tuesday or Wednesday of the following week. So you pretty much live in Microsoft Word for all of Monday. Travel, it really depends on you and where you work. Pretty common to be required to do 50% travel, pretty common. Staff penetration testers don't really travel as much. Application pen testers don't usually travel as much, but network pen testers are usually on the road, and they're on the road a lot. Lack of training. This is not the kind of business where there's a whole lot of hand-holding. This is not the kind of business where there's a whole lot of training. You're really going to be expected to kind of think on your feet, learn on your own, and really kind of go for it. Let's see, we got a question here. AJ wants to know what about Dratis and these types of products? Do they really help you in terms of improving documentation? And they're a step in the right direction, but very few companies are actually using stuff like that. So the overwhelming majority of penetration testing firms and companies, it's still Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and a ton of peer review. What things like Dratis and Cobalt Strike and Core Impact and those types of things, Metasploit, Professional, are going to do is facilitate collaboration. You and another penetration tester can work together, and you can share vulnerabilities and scan results with the guy that you're working with. But when it comes to actually producing the report, a lot of companies are going to have their own template, the way that they want the report to look, and the way that they want findings to be scored. So in a lot of cases, this stuff is really, really custom, and you're going to have to do it by hand. Okay, next thing is the lack of training. You're just going to have to get used to that. You're going to run into, in this industry, there is not a lot of training. If you're fortunate to get one training class per year, you're very lucky. Most penetration testers, they can hope and pray for one training class per year, and that's about it. And usually it's like DEF CON Black Hat. They go to 1, maybe 2 conferences a year. That's about it. So I wish I could tell you like, oh, it's, roses and sunshine, but it tends not to be. You're going to have to get used to building stuff in your own lab, testing it yourself, and being really comfortable with learning new technologies really quickly. Okay, the next thing is the really crazy learning curve. You are going to be required to learn a lot. Oftentimes when people get their first pen testing job, they really get thrown to the wolves, and those first few months are hell. Okay, let's see what we got here. Do I recommend taking the training classes? Yeah, if you can afford them, or if your company pays for them, the classes are helpful. You know, I'm not saying that they're bad. It's just in a lot of cases, because of the expense, you generally can only get one a year. You know, that's what's tough. Any age limits to becoming a penetration tester? I would say no. But, you know, just like anything, you're going to need to be conscious of that there's going to be things like discrimination, you know, because of age, race, sex. You know, that's in any job. You know, do you risk running into age discrimination, race discrimination, sexual discrimination? Yes. But, again, you just have to focus on what you bring to the table. Focus on what you bring to the table. You got to make the value proposition. You know, you got to make yourself a smart move for people to go to. You know, that at the end of the day, that's what it is. You know, me being black and also being a guy who's pretty loud and outspoken and, you know, cracks jokes all the time and curses, you know, I had more than my fair share of stuff to go through. You know, other people that I know in the industry who are, you know, minorities and female, you know, we all had our, you know, our cross to bear, if you will. You have to make it in spite of that. You know, I'm actually going to do a whole nother webinar just on that. You know, I've been talking to some other organizations, and, you know, we're going to have to talk about that. So I'm going to do a webinar in the next couple of months just on that subject of, you know, discrimination and all that kind of stuff in the field. And at the end of the day, the short answer is you just got to make it in spite of it. There's really no way around it. You can't expect to change the hearts and minds of people and change people's preconceived notions about you until they see what you bring to the table. I mean, that's it. And in a lot of cases, I hate to say it, but you don't really change their mind of that stereotype or that preconceived notion. You just change it about you, not about the specific group that you belong to. I have plenty of people that I know, they don't call themselves racist, but, you know, I'm just a cool black guy that they know. You know, they for damn sure don't know any other black guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's just what it is, you know. Same thing with some of the females that I know in the industry. You know, there's some of the few females in the industry, and they have to deal with people who make, you know, sexual innuendo around them and expect them to just kind of be cool with it, or guys who are from foreign countries and have like a really thick accent. You know, like Indians get a bad rap, you know, for, you know, the accent and being in the call centers and no one can understand them and all that, but they have to succeed in spite of that, just like I did being black and just like women do, you know, being female. Okay, going through the motions, this is what I talked about. You know, the complaints that you get from people who do this for a job, it's the same thing over and over and over. It starts with a crazy learning curve, and then after that, it just becomes shampoo, lather, rinse, repeat, telling customers the same stuff over and over and over and over. Because let's face it, if they did this stuff, they wouldn't need you. I mean, that's it, right? All we do is we prove what people are supposed to be doing. That's your job. Okay? All right. Honestly, the last thing, man, the uglies, I don't think there's any uglies. You know, I love this job. If I wasn't a pen tester and a guy who teaches pen testing, I'd probably be working at McDonald's. Because, you know, the honest truth is I don't know how to do anything else. I really don't. You know, I'm pretty good at instant response and malware analysis, and I can do other IT stuff. But at the end of the day, I love pen testing. I really do. Like, this is what I'd rather be doing. So, you know, if you're a glutton for punishment and you really like this stuff, man, jump in with both feet and don't let anybody stop you from getting that job. I mean, come on, man. I'm black. You know, I'm loud. I curse a lot. I'm always cracking jokes. I don't have a college degree, you know, and I really don't have real formal education in this stuff. And hell, I made it. So if they're going to take somebody like me, believe me, they'll take somebody like you. Okay? All right, guys. That's all I got. Any questions for me? Okay, so Goran wants to know, what's your question for those of us who are not from the U.S.? Do we need to have more certifications than people from the U.S.? I mean, I'll probably be in the U.S. soon, but because I'm not from there, will that help me to get an interview? Definitely, yes. I don't know if you have to have more, but definitely it would benefit you. The other thing I would focus on, Goran, is what do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? You know, are you really good with Oracle, really good with programming, really good with documentation? You know, what do you bring to the table that's going to make them go, wow, we like this guy? Okay, so focus on what you bring, what you're good at. Do I have any labs to assist people with gaining experience? Actually, yeah, I built a new pentester lab network. So yeah, I'll give you guys the link to that. So there's the lab, and if you want to hang out in my lab, you're certainly welcome to. Anybody who's you know, attended this webinar, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to give you a quick discount so you can jump in the lab. There's plenty of stuff in the lab. The lab's huge. I mean, we got a ton of stuff in there. So if you get in there and look at it, that lab is huge. It's got pretty much everything, SharePoint, you know, you name it. Okay. All right, let's go through the rest of these questions. Oh, great, Wendy. I hope to see you in D.C. Great. All right, Tiffany, later. Good job. All right. All right, Mike, he's in the lab. Same thing with Pentester Academy. Nothing but love for my boy Vivek, man. All right, cool. James Brown. What a name. That's what I'm talking about, man. Hardest working man in IT security. Way to go, James. Okay. Webinar you anytime. You got it, Laura. Okay. Next time I webinar you, I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with my freaking sound, huh? Okay. All right. Galini, good to hear from you. Good, good. All right. Yeah, anybody who needs lab access, let me know. I'll give you the hookup, give you a quick discount, get you in there so you can mess around. Cheat sheets, definitely, Dominica, download that pentester interview thing that I gave. Definitely download that. Let's see. And then if you want to get the slides that I did today, here's the slides. Laura says I need to glue the mic to my lip. Okay. Yeah, so, okay, can you see the link now? Okay, now let's roll back and let's catch Bill's question. Bill, so you were saying, hey, we just got our IPs and we're getting ready to jump on and help out, jump on and start a pen test, and what should I be doing for the team? Was that what you were asking? Okay, okay, too easy. It's your first engagement. All right, so what you really want to do is you want to kind of line up a couple of things. First thing you want to do is you want to line up a kickoff meeting. The kickoff meeting is going to cover everything, like, you know, verify the ranges, verify the scope of the engagement, verify who your point of contact is, verify what are the rules of the engagement, you know, what we're allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do, when we need to contact you, how often we need to send situation reports and all of that. Get the team to buy into a particular part of the pen test. You know, we're going to work on it together, but you got to make this like football, man. All right, dude, you're the linebacker, you're the right, you know, you're safety, you're whatever. Get the people to buy in and have some skin in the game. Because what happens with people when they've not done pen tests before and they get together, a lot of people try to fade to black because they're kind of afraid to mess something up. Try to make people get some buy-in, okay? Try to make them get some buy-in. Try to make them be responsible for something so that they got stuck, and let them know that the rest of the team depends on them, you know? And then as we do our daily sit reps, make the team brief everybody else. So people are responsible for their component. Make everybody aware that they got to take constructive criticism. This isn't a bitch session. I'm not here to beat you down, but guys, let's get in here. Let's do a good job, and let's give unbelievable value. Oh, okay, my mistake. Okay, so you got 2 experienced guys, and you're the new guy. All right, cool. If you're the new guy, you want to be super willing to help, super willing to stay up late, super willing to research stuff. You want to do a little bit of gopher stuff, but you don't want to become the gopher. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you want to be super helpful. You want to show that you work hard and you're willing to learn and you got a good attitude, but not to the point where you become everybody's doormat. You know what I mean? You don't want people handing you stuff just because they don't feel like doing it. Okay, Bill? So you want to get in there, do good, you know, show guys that you're really willing to take stuff on. Do extra research for every vulnerability. Try to see if you can find not just the fix, but document the steps to fix it, right? Take lots of screenshots. Be the guy who's ready to have all your reports be squared away. Work on your report every night. Every pen tester waits till the following week to start working on their report. If you're doing your report every night, Bill, you're going to start to see guys are going to look over you like, man, you're almost done? And, you know, that's going to be like, wow, you know, that new guy, he's like on it. Okay. All right, guys, my email is joe@strategicsec.com. So if you need to email me for the lab and all that kind of stuff, I got nothing but help for you guys. If you're interested, see Tiffany wants to know what's up with Web App Pen Tester Night School with the class that starts next week. I think that one is Monday and Wednesday. It's either Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday. Exploit Dev Night School is 2 days a week. Web App Night School is 2 days a week. But either case, they're from 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. each night. You know, that 2 nights per week. You get access to the lab network for the entire month. So I think the class is like $150, and you just jump in and you go for it. You know, I'm going to give you boxes to go after. Every day I'm going to give you a video just like this, a webinar style thing, and you're going to watch me do the attacks, and I'm going to explain the attacks, and then I'm going to give you weekly challenges and things that you got to do each night. And then normally what I do is I give you a weekly challenge, and your challenge is worth, you know, $25, $30, $50 or whatever, and that $50 goes toward your next class. So if you do the challenge each week, you basically get a class for free. Okay? All right. Bill, did that help your question? Tiffany, did that help your question? All right, sweet. Sweet. All right, Wendy, I know you're out of here. You take care. Good seeing you. Okay. All right, cool. See you in the boot camp on Saturday, Bill. Tiffany, no problem. Anything I can do to help, you guys just let me know, okay? All right, guys, if no one has any more questions, let's button this bad boy up and let's get out of Dodge, all right? All right, guys. Everybody, thanks so much for hanging out. I really, really appreciate it, guys. I really appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.